Hello, and welcome to Quick Clicks video training series, Essential Strategies in 15 Minutes or Less, created by California Deafblind Services. This training is about communication dictionaries, a tool for emergent communicators and their teams. Thank you for joining us to talk about communication dictionaries. For our learners who are deafblind and emergent communicators, conversation doesn't always include sign language, spoken words, or even common symbols. Instead, a message might be communicated through touch, or maybe through a shift in facial expressions, a very slight movement of their hand or another body part. Sometimes it's even a stillness between interactions or a change in breathing. Sometimes these things can be hard to observe and interpret when you're just getting to know someone. When people interpret these signals differently, communication can easily get lost. The individual might start to get frustrated or confused, and it can be really difficult for the individual to develop consistent vocabulary with all their different partners. We also know that oftentimes these learners have a really large support team. These people not only need to collaborate fluidly together, but also work really closely with the family in order for this learner to develop communication, to implement the communication plan consistently, and for this learner to be able to advance in their language development. A consistent and shared approach builds trust, decreases confusion for everyone, and improves the individual's opportunity to learn. It also helps build relationships and make sure that the individual can be understood by all their communication partners. One important tool to support this approach is the communication dictionary. In the next few minutes, you'll learn what it is, how to create it, and how to keep it up to date. So what is a communication dictionary? It's a tool that captures and shares the unique ways a student expresses themselves, so their communication can be recognized, respected, and responded to consistently by everyone on their team, in their home, in their social circle. It can also be used as a way to show how certain words or messages are being communicated to the student receptively. The format for the dictionary can vary based on your student's communication style or your team's needs. The most common formats we see are tables, slideshows, or maybe a Google site or a website where you can click on the different settings or activities to show what's happening in those different places. If you have a team that communicates with multiple languages, so maybe the primary language spoken at home is different than what's being used in the educational setting, you might want to develop a digital format that can easily be translated into different languages so that your whole team is on the same page. We're going to share some examples later in our presentation, so you'll be able to see some of these different formats. The most important thing is that it works for your team. Hopefully, everyone on your team is already very familiar with the student's communication plan, which is like your roadmap for telling the team the student's overall communication system across multiple settings, and also the plan for what's happening currently and what the next steps might be. The communication dictionary, on the other hand, is what's happening right now, and it's a shared record of how the student is communicating today and how other people are sharing messages with them currently. We want to make sure that it's a living document that's being kept up to date. You can imagine if maybe 2 months ago the student was communicating that they wanted something by reaching and grabbing for it, but now they're able to sign a specific sign. Maybe they're signing eat if they want something to eat, or they're signing more. We want to make sure that that's included in the dictionary and that it's up to date so everyone on the team knows that advancement in their language and the change in the way that they're expressing themselves. It should also include messages that are being told to the individual, like I said. So this might be the team is telling them where we're going next, who you're with right now, what's happening around you. You want these receptive language pieces to be included because when they are, it tells the whole team how and when to communicate these particular messages and how the learner might react to it or acknowledge that they understand it, and also what to do next once that message is given. And when everyone on the team is expressing messages in the same way, as you can imagine, it decreases confusion for the individual and increases their opportunity to develop that language and understand what's being told to them. When we start to think about gathering the information about all the different communicative behaviors a learner is showing and all the different messages that we're telling to them, it can feel a little overwhelming. So we wanted to share some ideas for how to get started. My biggest piece of advice to you is to work together. Think about how you can gather information from your entire educational team. Everyone has different observations and insights, and you want to be sure you're getting all the different pieces that you need. You also want to make sure that you're reaching out to their family, which it should include their siblings or cousins if they're close with them, maybe even someone who's a close family friend, because these people are also interpreting this learner's communicative behaviors in different ways and have more information than what we have at school. One really good strategy for how to start reaching out to the family about this is to send home some interview questions. How do you know when your learner's feeling frustrated? How do you know if they want to go outside? How are they telling you when they're hungry, when they're tired? If you're playing something, how do you want to know if they want to do more or if they're finished? Just ask some really specific questions, and they'll probably be able to share some answers with you. And if not, you can ask them to share some videos and you could talk through those different pieces of what you're observing. On the educational team, it's important to make sure that you're gathering information from the people that see the learner most often and give them an opportunity to maybe observe or film themselves and look at the behaviors that are being shown. But a lot of the times they already have an answer for how this student is showing them something. And also the team has ideas for how they are sharing messages. The speech therapist might want to take the lead on making sure that everybody's sharing their input and gives them an opportunity to hear more about these communicative behaviors that are happening. But it can also be the intervener who's helping communicate with people about it. If they have one on their team, the case manager can take the lead. You just want to make sure that there's someone who's kind of coordinating what's happening and gathering the information. One strategy that teams are using to gather the pictures or video clips or to gather notes is to have a Google folder or something similar where the team can all collaborate on it together as it's being developed. And we'll share some templates in our next couple of slides with some examples of how to get started with that. Each entry needs to include the description of the behavior or the symbol or the cue, what it means or what it's being interpreted to mean, how the person should respond to it, and maybe what you need to do next, or some pictures of whatever materials are needed as part of that routine. And it really helps to have pictures or line drawings if it's a sign that you're showing, or if it's something that includes multiple steps. If you can grab a little video clip of the learner doing this behavior, it can be really helpful to show the team what to look for. On this slide, we're looking at an image that shows an example of one entry for a receptive message and another entry for an expressive message. And the first one we're going to talk about is the receptive message, which is in a box on the left. At the top, it says it's time to eat. And below, there's a box that describes the entry, and it says, bring the student to the object calendar and show that it is time to eat now by hand under hand guiding them to touch the now box, sign now hand under hand while they're exploring that box, and have them feel or hold the formula bottle and feeding tube that is mounted on the cardboard while they're touching it, signing, and saying eat out loud. Allow her to explore the formula bottle for at least 10 seconds, encouraging her to feel all parts of it. Once she's had time to explore it, she'll often put it back in the basket and reach out for the person who's with her, showing she's ready to go eat. And below this message, there's a picture that shows a piece of cardboard and a formula bottle that's mounted to it. And there's a feeding tube just to the right of the formula bottle. In the box on the right, we're looking at an expressive message. So this is how the learner is showing us something. And this message is titled, I want more of that. And the description says, vibrating ball. I will reach for the item when it is pulled away, sometimes holding the item tighter when the vibrating stops. My partner should model the sign more under my hands and say, you want more while signing. They should also wait to turn on the vibration or give the ball back until the sign has been shown. And I've had at least 5 seconds to process the sign. And below the description is an image of the ASL sign for more, and also an image of the vibrating ball toy, which is a small ball that would fit in a child's hands, and it has some points sticking out and it shakes when you turn it on. So these two examples are a great way to take a look at the different ways that a receptive and expressive message can be shown in an entry. This next example is a one-page communication dictionary, and this format can be used to hang up in the classroom and have it really easily accessible or on a clipboard. And it is just very simply showing some signs that the individual is using. So at the top, it says, "How do I communicate?" And it has different columns labeled message, communicative behaviors, my sign or symbol, and the official sign. And there's 5 different vocabulary words listed here. The first one says eat, and the description says signs eat by touching hand or palm to chin. And it shows a picture of the learner actually doing that behavior, touching her palm to her chin. And then in the last column, it shows a line drawing of the ASL sign for eat or food. One thing that could be added to this dictionary is a description of what the partner should do. I think it's sort of implied here that the partner can be modeling eat or food with the ASL sign, but also they could be responding to her behavior by providing something to eat if she's signing eat. We want to include what the partner should do as well. It also says drink, and it says sign language by touching her hand gently to the side of her head, and then shows a picture of her touching the side of her head. And the official ASL sign for drink is different, so it shows that line drawing. The other examples here are of how she signs more, all done, and play. And they're all slightly different from what the formal ASL sign would be. So this is a great example of why the pictures of her doing these signs can be really helpful for the team to understand what she's trying to say. Here's another example of a table. And this table is shown here on the slide with the columns labeled as each time I do this, it will be interpreted to mean this. My partner will do this. My partner will say this. And what concrete or abstract symbol will be paired with my conventional symbol? And in the example shown on this slide, there's 2 rows filled out. And the first one shows an image of a boy smiling and flapping his hands in the air. So each time I do this, it says flap my hands and smile. It will be interpreted to mean this. It says I like this or I'm having fun. My partner will do this, smile, flap their hands under mine, 2 to show they understand and they also like it. Model more sign hand under hand and offer more of the item or activity. My partner will say this, sign more and verbally say more, fun, or yes, we like it. And then there's an image here of the ASL sign for more. The next example says, each time I do this, push something away with my hands or feet, it will be interpreted to mean this. I don't want this, or I'm finished. My partner will do this. Take the item away and model sign for finished hand under hand. Then use hand under hand guidance to show me how to put the item in the finished basket. Repeat the sign for finished when we drop it in. And then there's an image here of their finished basket, which is a red basket and has a icon symbol that shows the line drawing of the finished sign. And then it says, my partner will say this, finished, and can be said verbally at the same time as signing. And then it shows a line drawing of the ASL sign for finished. And on the last column here, it says the basket also acts as a symbol for finished. This example shows a communication dictionary entry about milk and the message for it's time to drink the milk or here's your milk. And the left side of the table shows a picture of what a tactile cue could look like, where the communication partner is squeezing the learner's hand and it has written directions and an image. And on the right side, it shows the actual picture of this learner holding the object cue of the milk bottle, and the communication partner's hands are over her hands. And on the bottom of this entry, there's a section that says strategies, where the team is listing strategies for how they can present information to this learner. And that's a really great addition to this communication dictionary. And here's another example from that same learner's dictionary, but it's a different format. So on the top, there's a table and it has different sections that say activity of the day. And this example is the stander. And then it says tool or object queue. And this says show picture of stander and touch stander. Target language, go to your stander. Routine. And it says before transferring, move her leg while she's sitting, straightening it. And then the last section says partner support or tactile signs, and it shows a line drawing of the sign for stand up. And below this is an image that's also included in the dictionary of someone using the sign for stand up. And it says touch two fingers into the palm of an open hand, an open palm. And then to the right of that is an actual image of this learner in her stander. And below this, again, in this communication dictionary, there's a section that lists strategies. We hope this training was helpful for you and your team to get started with communication dictionaries. If you want more information, we've shared two QR codes for further resources here. The QR code on the top will take you to a fact sheet created by California Deafblind Services about how to get started with a communication dictionary. And the QR code on the bottom will link you to a practice guide about supporting communication created by National Center on Deafblindness. If you want more support from CDBS to get you started with your communication dictionary or to talk more on this topic, we'd love to hear from you. You can always reach out to us through our website at cadeafblind.org. Thanks so much for joining.